Today's episode of Bullpen Talk is sponsored by WatchQuest. If you're looking to buy or sell a luxury watch, WatchQuest is a platform that's earned a strong reputation in the watch community. With more than 15,000 members, and the platform has already facilitated over $10 million in completed transactions. Whether you're looking to buy your first luxury watch, or just trying to find the right buyer for one you already own, WatchQuest gives you a trusted place to do anything. Thanks again to WatchQuest for sponsoring today's episode of Bullpen Talk. Now let's get back into the video.
All right, welcome back to the 8th edition of Bullpen Talk. I'm here with Logan Martin, a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a really interesting story. You played D3 baseball for 3 years, transferred to Kentucky, and then got drafted. Do you want to kind of talk about that journey for you and the process of going from D3 baseball to SEC baseball, then ultimately getting the call that you've been drafted to the Royals?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think I was, of course, got to start with high school. I think, undersized kid going through the ranks there from a freshman to a senior, kind of just worked my way up, kind of just gradual development each season. And then when I was a senior, got my first offer to go play at Sewanee, because that's my first offer to play any school in college. And then after that, I probably received probably 4 to 5 more schools, Division III for all of them. And Sewanee felt like home. Took a visit there in June, committed there in September. My last one with the staff there with David Jenkins and Nate Burns. And it just felt like home for me. So going there was a no-brainer. Finished out high school at Carswell High School, 2019. Started during the first COVID year at Sewanee. So my freshman year and sophomore year, we kind of had 2 COVID years. So because of that, ended up having extra eligibility. So my whole plan with entering the portal originally was to try to get grad school offers because I wanted to play my 4 years at Sewanee, get a degree, and then transfer out. Ended up, of course, entering the portal my sophomore summer, just to kind of get a head start on grad school and making sure I kind of, unlike high school where I wasn't behind or kind of felt like I had like a late start with recruiting, I wanted to make sure I had a really good start on it. So from there, had good years, freshman, sophomore, and then going into that junior season, ended up kind of sending out emails to different schools. Kentucky was one of them. I'm from there originally, so it would have been an in-state tuition move for me. So got in touch with them, and they were one of the only schools really to ever respond back to me, which is pretty crazy to think about all the other ones that I sent out that weren't like the high level SEC, ACC like those. So got in touch with their coaching staff, just like Sewanee felt like home. So I decided to leave early for their senior year. It was a great experience at both schools. Very different, of course, with Division III and Division I. We can kind of go into that later. But it was like for my development, they both were much needed for me. Then did the year at Kentucky, made the Super Regionals that year. We lost to LSU. That's kind of the only bad thing about it. And then ended up getting drafted that summer by Kansas City. And then there
Yeah,
did 2 years with Kansas City and then now San Francisco.
yeah, it's awesome. And you were talking about it, how that you only had like 5 offers, basically being all D3 schools out of high school.
Yeah.
So was your development at the D3 level, super essential, or you believe that you're just overlooked in the recruiting process during the time you were getting recruited at after high school, out of high school?
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of both, honestly. I
Okay.
feel like I probably lacked the natural talent. I feel like I always kind of worked hard. I know that's probably a common cliche that every athlete does work hard. But I do think that I pushed myself further than other guys, especially like when I look back to some of my teammates at Sewanee. But it was an opportunity for me to go to Sewanee, and I remember in first conversations with the coaching staff, it was kind of like I know I was going to play there. And I think that was the biggest thing for me was I don't want to be a player that goes to a school anywhere. It doesn't really matter what level it is. I want to make sure I can go there, play, and make a difference. So for me, it was like I feel like my development at Sewanee was really pivotal for me just because I could go there. I knew like what it took to get better. I knew kind of like I was just starting to kind of do my own research. And honestly, I just use a lot of YouTube really for kind of just like plyometric videos, how to work out in the weight room, that kind of stuff to really get better.
Yeah. So I obviously our connection is I played a year of
Yeah.
college baseball at Sewanee as well, and the coaches get a certain amount of hours with you. Your facilities, aren't the best compared to Division I schools. At least at Sewanee, they have awesome facilities, but walk us through that. You're walking out of Sewanee, you get to Kentucky, and now you have like the weight rooms and all the equipment, and you're like, this is like SEC style baseball. Like, what's the difference between your common D3 school and then like a big SEC baseball school. And they're competitor they compete because I believe they're in a regional this year. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
No, I mean, there's so many small differences too. It's even like stuff that you wouldn't think about. Like with Sewanee, like just kind of talking like the practice plan. Like the fall ball at Sewanee, I believe is still the same. It's probably 4 weeks, 4 days a week. Where at Kentucky, you're talking 7 weeks, 6 days a week. So it's just there's so much more time that you're with teammates and you're having to be at the field. That's mandatory. And then you, of course, like you're gonna have your voluntary time and you kind of go, that's voluntary but not voluntary, pretty much.
Yep.
But I mean, there's just like I remember taking one of my first visits at Kentucky, and we talked about just budgets. I remember there were certain like budgets just on food at Kentucky for the athletes to have like the best food, the best protein shakes, nutritional components, and that was like triple the budget of what Sewanee was. We were there, so it's just like there's just so much more money in high level baseball with SEC, ACC. I still think with schools like Sewanee. I mean, like they do a great job as a Division III school when you compare the fields that we had like to other fields and like the bullpen, the weight room at Fowler. I think like there's still a lot of great things going on there, but it's just a 9 day difference when you talk about like the SEC with Sewanee. So I remember my first day. I remember just getting lost on campus at
Hmm.
Lexington because it wasn't like the quad where you kind of knew where all your buildings were at Sewanee. It was pretty much where it was just like brand new and it was so large to me going from a school with 2,000 kids to now 30,000. But I made the adjustment well. Yeah, and I really got it. Like, I think you kind of have to buy into the program, buy into just being around your teammates, just everything like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Kentucky is, really good basketball program, a really good baseball program as of late. I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of were, you talked about you guys were in a super regional in Baton Rouge. So how's that between, you're walking out at Swanee playing Rhodes in your rivalry game, and now you're walking out playing Paul Skeens in Alex Box Stadium in Baton Rouge. Like, what's that difference in? I mean, obviously there's a huge difference, but like when you're in that moment, like and you realize like I'm at Alex Box Stadium and I was just at, Swanee, like what was that for you? How's that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I get nervous before every start or every game that I pitch in. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, if there could be 5 people in the stands or there could be like 100,000. I feel like I'm gonna have the same nervousness, but it's a really cool feeling to see the support. Even like when we like would play other teams, like of course like LSU, like that was that Tommy White, Paul Skeens, Trey Morgan, like you had like that class of guys there, and like seeing like their fans react with them and like just the support they got, just like how when we were at home, like the support that we got. It's really cool to see the involvement of fans with baseball. Where at Sewanee, like you just didn't have that as much. You have your fraternity and your sororities there watching games. You had your parents, your other teams, their parents would come, and that was pretty much it. And I felt the same, I think, about the nervousness, but it definitely felt more weighted, of course, at Kentucky. I remember my first game at Kentucky, we were at Elon, and I think we had probably around like 400 fans in attendance. And to me, that was like, whoa, this is the most fans I've ever seen in my life. Of course, coming from Sewanee. I mean, remember we had a Rhodes game at home where I think we had 200, and that was a lot. So it definitely was an adjustment for me. But I think each week I kind of got more used to it. And now with professional baseball, it's pretty similar. Like we'll have games at Richmond now. That's just a great. They have a brand new facility there in Richmond, Virginia for the stadium and facilities. And we're probably averaging, I think, close to 6,000 a game. So, I mean, it's very similar to what you would see at a place like the Box or some like the high level SEC, ACC parks.
Yeah, and I think like a huge common question now too is kind of going back to that D3, D1 like talent gap is you've seen it, you did it. Like, do you want to talk about like, you'll hear that like the 1 through 4 at a D3 school can somewhat compete at, the D1 level. I want to hear about like the way you pitch around D3 hitters compared to D1 hitters and what went into that. And then would you recommend that, kids go and get a D3 degree or like go to good D3 academic school rather than going to like a JUCO school for 2 years with the new 5 for 5 rule.
Yeah, of course. Now, I'm not as aware with the 5 for 5. That's just where it's like there's no more academic red shirts, there's no more medical red shirts, right?
Yeah, you get 5 years. I think when you turn 19, they just added that into it. It's like as
Okay.
soon as you turn 19, you get 5 years to play college athletics.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll answer that one first and go into the kind of the talent gap. But I would say, I mean, like for my story, like I think it depends on what you're looking to do at a college. If you're looking to, like for me, like I think the idea of playing pro ball was there. I don't think it was that realistic at the time of going into college, of course, because not many guys from D3 get drafted. But for me, I had the idea that, man, like if I can give everything I can, I want to do that dream. So for sitting at a really good baseball school or going to a JUCO and not playing, that's not really going to benefit me. So for me, it was kind of the best of everything. I got to really challenge myself in the classroom at Sewanee. I got to play baseball and play a lot. I think that really helped my development. So, I mean, I always push academics for just any kid and player that I talk to now going through because for most people, and even like for me someday, like that all you're going to have is your degree to kind of fall back on. It's like you want, doesn't mean you have to go to the just you don't have to go to the Ivies, but you just need to challenge yourself and make sure you can have a chance to get a 4-year degree. And I do think, I mean, I would tell most kids like being a walk-on in Division One is really cool, especially if Kentucky offered me out of high school, I would have took that no matter what. Probably not even a question to really think about it. But you get a lot of experience just playing, and like how I did, and how I know a lot of kids. I've kept up with Hunter Herndon, who's another Sewanee alum that we had, that he did 2 years at Sewanee, and now he's at Wofford, so like another great school. So I think a lot of kids are starting to do that route instead of just to go 2 years at a JUCO where you're playing, where that schedule is really intense with baseball and all their sports there.
Yeah, to go off Hunter Herndon too.
Yeah.
My freshman year, he was a sophomore there, and talk about a kid that like worked extremely hard,
Yeah.
was bought in, and he was, and it worked out for him. And he took the chance of getting a D3 degree, and then it worked out. He put in the time and effort, and ended up, I think, starting for Wofford as well. As soon as he got there, so I mean, you obviously got drafted. Like, walk us through that experience too. Is like, like you talked about five offers out of high school, and then now you're getting drafted by the Kansas City Royals. Like, what was that moment like for you? And um, like what did you like realize? Like, when did you realize like I can actually go play baseball at the professional level?
I would say that actually realize it and think that, oh man, like this really could happen. It was probably my sophomore summer. So it was after 2 COVID years at Sewanee. I had some velocity jumps where I think out of high school I was probably 84, 86, 84, 87. And then my first year at Sewanee, I was probably 85 to 88, 89. And then my sophomore year, I had a little velo jump, got up to around 88 to 92. So that year, I decided to go play in the Coastal Plain League, which is a really big collegiate summer league in the Carolinas and a little bit of Virginia. So I started to see myself kind of on the same rosters as the guys from UNC, Georgia. Like you're starting to see kind of these bigger schools. And I think I was one of two Division III kids at the time on this Asheboro Copperheads team. And I remember just like, I got hit a little bit. I remember I had all these strikeouts. I had really good stats, and I'm like, hey, like this is legit a shot now. It's like you got velocity. Started kind of talking to some scouts my junior year at Sewanee. I was like, this is like, there's a really good chance it's going to happen. I do wish I would have put more thought into like the understanding of the game after college. I think it is very different just with the travel and like stuff that you don't really expect with college ball. But I mean, for me, like it was always like a really cool idea. And then once that sophomore junior year hit, I was like, okay, this is like legit going to happen. So I don't get drafted from Sewanee. I go to Kentucky for a year that summer. I had eligibility to go back to Kentucky, so it was going to be a win-win for me either way, either going back for to start my graduate degree or going professional. So, but I remember that day 3 of the draft, Kansas City called, and I was able to still keep wearing Kentucky blue with them. So, I mean, it was a great experience. For real. I had my girlfriend, family with me. It was just a great experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you want to talk about? You're obviously in the minor leagues right now. You're playing well, and do you want to kind of talk about that minor league journey and that experience of like going from like high A and all that type? You're double A right now in
Yeah.
Richmond, Virginia. So that's people say double A is where the best talent is and the youngest talent, is before you obviously play a few weeks in the triple A and then go on to the big league. So do you want to talk about that journey for you and how that's been and the things you like about the grind and the things you don't like?
Yeah, of course. Every level's so different. So, of course, you have triple A, double A, high A baseball, and low A. Then you have your Arizona League and you have your Dominican leagues. So like just kind of the way it works is the DSL, of course, college players skip that league. That's kind of more for your younger Latin American players that go in that league, and they will go to the Arizona League, which is where college guys, when they get drafted, they start normally in that league. So the Arizona Complex League is, I think it's also the Florida State League, are the two kind of spring training leagues that go on in the summer. So when I first got drafted in 23, that was the first team I was with. So I was with them probably like a month of the draft year. Got drafted July 2023, was with them until August 2023, and then I went to low A for 3 weeks that season. Then the following year in 24, I did a full year in low A, which for us was the Columbia Fireflies in Columbia, South Carolina. And then in 2025, I was with Quad Cities River Bandits in Davenport, Iowa. So, and then now, of course, with being the Giants system, we have different affiliates. So with them, I'm with the Richmond Flying Squirrels. So every level is going to have just a different also feel for like the league itself. So like there's certain leagues that get more fans. Like the Carolina League did a really great job with getting fans. You're going to Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Columbia, Kannapolis, Augusta, really good spots. Whereas Midwest League, a little bit colder in April, May, you're not going to have as many fans. Similar to Eastern League, where it's like April, you may not get as many fans, but with Richmond, it's like it's been a phenomenal experience being there, getting to kind of see just like the town just kind of buy into the team. So that part's great about it. It's a lot of travel, been able to see a lot of different parts of the country. That's probably, I think, a good and bad thing. Of course, being on the road
Yep.
7 days a week. Your off days now are kind of travel days. So it's pretty much now you're pretty much staying busy. There's really no off time, and that off time is going to be in the off season. But I mean, I love it for the most part. Like I wouldn't want to do anything else at the moment.
Yeah, man, that's unreal. And like you obviously see that you guys are playing a lot of games. I don't know double A, but I mean I live in Norfolk, Virginia. We have the Tides, a triple A
Yeah,
affiliate
yeah,
of the Orioles. So I mean, they're playing like 6 days a week. Are you guys on that kind of same schedule of like Tuesday through Saturday
yeah.
or
Similar
Sunday?
schedule. So with the new
Okay.
CBA that I think was signed in 20, actually it may have been 2020. They started the new schedule. It's either 2020 or 2022. Now for minor league baseball, it's you start mid or beginning of April and you end around the beginning or middle end of September, depending on what level you're at. Each level ending a week later than the one before. But yeah, pretty much it's always the 6 days a week, Tuesday to Sunday. Most games being night games. You'll have your day games, which are kids games, where you have all the schools come out and have their field trips, or but pretty much every game is gonna be a night game. And then your Sundays are normally a little bit earlier because that's the day you have to travel out.
Yeah, and do you want to talk about the whole idea of, the travel, like you kind of talked about you're playing 6 days and then you got to get on the road, like travel for a day and then get back and, play on Tuesday. Like as a pitcher, how are you going about that? How are you going about your recovery and things like that that, are essential for you to pitch well?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it depends on your age as well. I think guys that are older, of course, you got to make sure you're really on top of it. Like the soreness that I get now, I never had when I was 20 at Sewanee. So it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of just, you got to figure out like what makes your body feel the best, whether it's like certain things you put in your body, supplements, foods, the sleep you get, of course, is very important. Stretching is probably one of the better things now with mobility and making sure you're staying loose, staying, kind of just feeling good. I think that's a big mental factor as well. But I mean, with travel, you kind of just make it work. It's kind of like you kind of just you have to make sure you have a routine. Kind of make sure you're doing this. You got to make sure you're doing day A, day B on certain days. Got to make sure you're really staying in line for your starts. And if you're out of the bullpen, it's making sure you're kind of just ready every day if needed.
Yeah, and you kind of brought up the CBA. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The collective bargaining agreement is in works right now with a potential player lockout. As a player, are you for the salary cap or against it? And is there anything that, you want to see change in Major League Baseball that you're able to say?
Yeah, I mean, change is inevitable. Like every league
Yep.
has changes. Like I understand the argument for a salary cap. You know, the NBA, NFL, two other large leagues, they have salary caps. I understand. I know the MLBPA's position is we're okay with the floor, we're not okay with the cap. And I think there's points that do make sense. Like when you talk about like owners don't have a cap on revenue. So it's like, so you're not gonna cap the ownership, or you're gonna cap the players and salaries. And I understand like it's playing a game. It's not like we're saving lives. We're not. in these like medical positions where it's like life or death. It is just a game at the end of the day. But I mean, for players that you go through the minor leagues and you have to go through all the experiences, especially pre 2020 where the conditions were harsher than what we have now for minor leagues. I understand like those guys, like they want to get as much money as possible. And like that money is going to set them up for generations to come. So I understand the want for more money. For me, it's most players don't ever even realize that money. You got to think like there's only a small percentage of guys that actually get to free agency. Most of the guys that make it to Major League Baseball maybe get through arbitration. So it's like it's only really a small percentage that get the really, really large money that kind of affect everything. But I'm pretty indifferent about it for the most part. I think that there's certain things Major League Baseball could change. Like maybe they take off a year before you get to arbitration so more guys can make more money. I think they have added some good clauses in their proposals. I saw one recently where if you're leaving your team, like let's say a guy like Shohei Ohtani wants to leave the Dodgers. The max year deal he can sign with a new team is 5 years. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's good for the teams because they're not signing a guy to a 10-year deal where they're going to get a lockout or buyout in 7, 8 years, which most of the case, that's what happens. And it's also for the player, it's like it kind of incentivizes them to make sure playing because in that fourth, fifth year, it's like now you're at another contract year. So I think both sides have great arguments. It's kind of just finding out like, okay, like let's just meet in the middle somewhere. I don't think anybody wants a lockout on either side. I think everybody wants to see baseball next year.
Yeah, and I think that I mean I've been reading on it too, and is like I think there's it's called like the competitive well, it's the competitive balance tax. There's an incentive, I forgot the name of it, where it's like they have to pay a certain amount of money to their players and they can't like say the Orioles have to like pay 200 like $200 million for their
Hmm.
roster and that's like the bare minimum they have to pay and then they have to meet a certain threshold which I like because it's the idea of like they're
Yeah.
staying competitive because rather than and my belief is like you were saying there's no cap on revenue for these owners so the players should obviously be able to get what they're worth so kind of
And one
segue.
thing
Yeah, yeah, you're
I was to
good.
say, one thing I think most people don't know is that right now with Major League Baseball, like there's kind of a like undisclosed cap and floor already. So like there is, I'm just going to make up the numbers right now. Let's say 300 million and 100 million. So like if you don't spend 100 million, you get fined. And if you spend over 300 million, you get fined. And that money goes to the teams in the middle. So let's say there's 5 teams that spend under 100 million and you have 5 teams that spend over 100. Well, those 10 teams have to pay fines. Well, those fines go to the 20 teams in the middle that are they're doing the right stuff. They're the ones that are signing players to the money that they're supposed to be paying out. So, I mean, they're doing the good jobs and they're getting rewarded for it. So I think if you put in a cap and a floor, it's like teams can like I don't think teams are going to follow that. I think they're just going to pay fines. You're going to have the teams in the middle that are doing like what they're supposed to be doing, but I think right now how the system works, it's like the teams that do what they're supposed to, they're getting the fines that other teams are paying. So it's kind of like, oh, you do the right thing, well, we get more money from that.
Yeah, and, with the Dodgers, it was Shohei's contract too. They deferred it, so it's like it's not even in
Yeah,
their amount of money. So they figure out ways where they can benefit from the current rules to their advantage, and yeah, I guess manipulate the system a little bit to say the least. But so what we're doing here the second half, like with bullpen talk, is the whole idea of like we're trying to promote player advocacy as well as essentially not really in your case because you went from major league, I mean from the minor league, from college to the major leagues,
yeah.
but the whole idea of like having a mentor and having somebody like prepare you for the second half. So obviously beyond baseball, we were talking about, money and things like that. Did you have like a mentor or anyone like that that helped you guide you through the idea of like professional baseball? Because it is super different from that college baseball? And if not, that's fine. But did you have someone that was able to be like, hey, this is how you want to, manage your money, essentially like go about contracts and all that, things like that?
I mean, I would say with the money and contracts part, like I'm with an agency with Frontline. So, I mean, they do a very good job in informing us all of kind of like what to expect or kind of, what the options available are. So, I mean, they've been great to work with. I would say I've had a lot of course, coaches, a lot of just people I've kind of like gone to in high school that I trusted well, that either knew people or that were in professional baseball while I was in college. So, of course, like talking to those people, asking questions, just trying to be proactive and learning more. I think that's helped me with the journey in baseball. And then, of course, like financially, kind of just my dad. I mean, I trust him a lot. Just my parents. I'll talk to them about money that way, just making sure we're like staying smart on most things I'm looking to invest in, do for portfolios. So I'm trying to stay just level headed with that. And then for baseball, of course, like once you get into professional, you meet so many more people that are in the game and that have years of experience playing and coaching. So over the course of the last few years, I can think of so many people that have really helped me kind of just learn the game better and kind of just make it more realistic and understanding.
Yeah, and with like the new NIL in college athletics, you're seeing these players get paid millions of dollars. I mean, you're around these guys that were making that money in college. Like, do you think these coaches and I guess organizations realize that these kids are, I guess, more mature when they're getting to, the pro leagues, or there's not really a difference that you can tell between the kids that are making money and the kids that weren't in college?
Yeah, I mean it's an entirely new game now from when I played in college, and that was only 3 years ago. I mean, NIL really wasn't a big thing. There may have been some people at Kentucky on it when I was there for 23, but I didn't hear about it if there was anything. You heard of guys getting like deals with like different baseball companies, kind of like that, like the Clean Fuegos, the Jaeger bands, those kind of things. I think after our year when we made the supers, that's where NIL became a lot more just prevalent at Kentucky. I know at other schools, like we would hear deals of certain players at the really big schools like Mississippi State, A&M, LSU, kind of just like your big market programs and your more historic programs. I think now, I think once you get into pro ball, no one really cares about that stuff. It's kind of like it's almost like a clean slate. It's like kind of like your high school going to college. It's like no one cares if you were all state in high school when you get to college. It's like, how are you going to do now? Then it's like when you go pro, it's like no one cares if you were an All American. No one cares if you were the Friday night guy on your staff. It's like now it's kind of like now you're kind of starting with us. So it's kind of just like just continuing putting the foot forward. And then NIL in college turns into sponsorships for professional baseball, trying to get deals for cleats, for gloves, just trying to stay as proactive as you can with that.
Yeah, and then do you have any advice to any viewers that we're in the we're in a similar position that you were in or are of being overlooked in college, but you got the stuff and you need the development. Do you have anything like you would want to say or like recommend to them that they need to do or pursue to get to like your position or where you're at right now?
Yeah, I mean, I tell a lot of people, and like I remember I've worked with another kid he's now playing at Duke baseball, and he was a Division III kid at Denison. And I remember telling him and kind of just my experiences with other ones that I've heard, it's like you got to be proactive in reaching out because schools and teams aren't just like zeroing in on you. It's like there's a thousand pitchers in high school that are trying to go play in college. It's like I remember I wish I kept count of the amount of emails and phone calls that I did and how many of those I got nothing on. And it's like it only takes one offer to get what you need. Like I always tell people like when I was trying to go play summer baseball as a Division III kid, like even like that's pretty hard. It's not like Cape Cod, you pretty much have your teams have feeders. They kind of just send so many guys to go play for whatever team in the Cape Cod League. Where for me, it was I remember I reached out to I think 33 summer ball teams, and they all either were filled, didn't need anybody, or just had like all their spots. Like there wasn't anything open for a Division III kid. I remember there was one team in Asheboro that was for Coastal Plain League that gave me a spot. So it was like one of 33. Like when I think back to high school, the amount of schools that I emailed and sent film to, like did everything, at least hundreds, barely got any back. Sewanee emailed me back. And then same with grad school. Now I was looking to go, I probably sent out like 50, 60 emails to these different schools, like schools that were local, schools that I thought I had a really good chance to play it. It's like no replies. And then I get really lucky with Kentucky. So it's like I call myself lucky just because I didn't get many opportunities, but the opportunities that I got really worked out for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you have a really cool story in that of you played D3 ball, overlooked, getting recruited out of high school, and then you made your way up to essentially being in double A. So, do you have like a moment while you were playing that, made the grind worth it? where you're like, this is why I wanted to play baseball, or it could be just like where you're at right now in the minor leagues, just like you went through the grind, you sought out the opportunities, you said you were proactive reaching out to people. Do you just have like a particular moment that you like looking back is like, this is like what it's for?
The draft day was really cool. That was kind of like the dream that I had. I was like, it's like no matter what, I can at least say I got to play professional baseball. And it's like I think that's how I kind of viewed everything. It's kind of like going from high school to college. It's like at least I can say I played college ball. And then that became, well, at least I can say I can play pro ball. So now it's like the next step for me is like at least I can say I was in the major leagues. That's kind of the goal. It's just for progressing, kind of like to keep on climbing. Draft day was that was kind of course like that became day one of kind of like making sure like I remember the next day just going to the gym and just like really being like really focused on being a Kansas City Royal. And I remember getting traded in November and it was kind of like another fresh start. It's like, hey, it's like now I'm a San Francisco Giant. It's like now it's time to be the best person I can be at this organization. So I think there's so many moments I can think of and good games. I mean, I remember my sophomore year at Sewanee, got to throw in a combined no hitter in our first game back from COVID. That was just really cool for all of us, like mentally, emotionally, getting back from that time period. I remember my first game wearing Kentucky blue and getting able to start on a Friday night. That was just cool for me, being a kid from Kentucky growing up watching the John Wall era, just being a huge Big Blue fan. So I think there's been so many moments over my career, starting since high school, that I really just appreciate, like just the amount that I've worked to get here.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap this up, like you've had a lot, like you said, you've made opportunities for yourself and you've done really well. I mean, you're pitching at the double A level. I keep on emphasizing that, but that's like really awesome. So like do you like looking back, do you have like a system in place or a process that you just like push yourself every single day to get like I guess get the job or task done you need to get done? And has that carried over to a pro bowl or you kind of like throughout the years just changed like the way you went about things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the way I worked out and through when I was 18, much different from 20, much different from 22, and like so forth now being 24. So I think you kind of just understand your body more. I think always I think worked hard. I probably worked more stupid back when I was 18, 19, just because like you're just like trying to just throw things together. Like we didn't have a strength coach at Sewanee, so I was just doing whatever felt good. And then now it's like there's so much involvement with like statistics and like having like I remember my first year at Kentucky really getting involved with the strength coaching department there, and like actually being able to work with Coach D and the UK strength team. And like you really start to get involved with how the body works. And in pro ball, it's at a whole nother step of like, well, if your body moves at this level, we can create this much force, so forth. So there's so many things that you learn along the way, and it's kind of like you're just building your own program. And it's kind of like each year I've kind of taken some new tidbits and kind of added to that portfolio and kind of folder that I've kind of created. So like there's still stuff that I do when I was 18, but there's also stuff now that I'm still finding at each new level that it's, hey, this really feels good. Hey, this makes me feel really good for start days. Hey, this is a great reset tool for me to do when I'm really struggling. So it's kind of like through trial and error and just through meeting people, having conversations, you really learn to find a lot of new things to better yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And once again, Logan, thank you for getting on the podcast. So we really appreciate it. We know you're busy in the middle of the season and doing well. So once again, appreciate it from Bullpen Talk and wish you the best.
Thank you, man. No, I had a great time being on. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.